Recording. All right, we are live in Broker Success Stories with myself, Desmond Soon, and here we have Shubha Dasgupta, right?
That's it.
I hope I didn't butcher your last name, man. Shubha is easy, but last name Chuang, and Soon is easy, right? So
That's it, man. No, you got it right on. That's Gupta.
Shubha's with a thriving and hustling and really. I think Pineapple Mortgage has made a big name across Canada, and I've trained 300 mortgage brokers, and I've come across quite a few of folks from Pineapple, and they say really good things about Pineapple, and that's why I asked you to come in today, and Shubha, to share us your story about Pineapple and how did you guys get to where you're today. And I want to hear about that side, and then we'll talk about where you guys going. I love to hear the story. I like the underdog story. So when I hear people in our industry coming from nothing from 20 years ago to now today, we're not there yet, but I think we're up there, right? So
we're all getting there.
My friend.
We're all on the journey, and I'm glad that you're meeting a lot of our agents because we always advocate education and we always advocate the best, and you're the best on the commercial side. So anytime somebody wants to get into commercial finance, we're sending them your way.
Much appreciated. So tell us about Pineapple. I know it's not a SpongeBob thing, it's a pineapple thing, and it's a C. It's not in comparison.
Definitely not a SpongeBob. And you can't forget the name, right?
Exactly, especially in Canada.
Do you want to know why we picked the name first? Because
I want to know.
Like the story. So we didn't start as Pineapple. We started as Capital Lending Center many years ago. When Kendall and I actually started this company, we realized about the day before we're about to launch it that we don't have a name and a logo. So we had to hurry up and figure out a name and a logo. We got everything else organized. We got training and we got infrastructure and we got, licensing. And we're like, oh man, we got to get this logo up and running. So name was Capital Lending Center. And a couple of days before, I just drew this logo onto a napkin, and that became our logo for a few years. And as we grew the business and as we scaled the business, obviously we found that, we had something special here. We needed to create a special brand around it. So partway through,
memorable than Capital Lending.
Something more memorable than Capital Lending. And nobody remembered the name, right? They're like, are you Capital Land? Like, no,
generic.
There's nobody that knew what it was. So halfway through, 5 years in, we decide, okay, let's build a real brand around this. And we hired a great brand firm to help us with it, a great marketing team with a specialization around brand creation. And they came in and they interviewed us all, interviewed all our management team, interviewed all of our senior management and staff, and came back to us the next day with a few different ideas. And we said, okay, let us think about these names, and the name that we remember tomorrow might be the one. Okay, so let's sleep on it. We come back tomorrow. And of all the names they gave us, and you can't ask me because I don't remember what they are, the one that we remembered, all of us, was Pineapple. So we're like, hey, tell us a little bit more about Pineapple. Like, why Pineapple? What is Pineapple? Why do you even pitch it to us? And they said, well, something was rare about our interviews with your team. And I said, what? They said, everybody said the same thing. And in their own words, it wasn't scripted, it wasn't designed. They that it was very genuine and authentic, but everybody talked about care and compassion and taking care of the industry and supporting their team, supporting the staff and the agents. And we thought to ourselves, like, how do we build this into a brand? And pineapples are actually a symbol of warmth and hospitality. And that's what kind of led them to that name. They're like, when we spoke with everybody, we realized that you guys are just so warm and so hospitable that it was Pineapple. But it's also a symbol of wealth and a symbol of, a gift that's given when you enter somebody's
always
home.
Thriving in Asia.
Always thriving in Asia. But really the selling point of it, so that was all amazing. We loved that whole story. The selling point was when they showed us the logo, the icon that we use today. And the graphic designer was on the call and we're like, how'd you get that logo? How'd you get that icon? And if you look at it, you can see these little rooftops. And he said, well, it's just a zoom in of a pineapple skin. So if you look very closely at a pineapple, it just forms these little rooftops. And we're like, we're Pineapple. That's it. made to happen.
That's
yeah,
cool.
and even getting the domain and stuff like that. I mean, like Pineapple must have been a difficult to secure, right? Like
Well, we don't have the domain in pineapple.com. We have gopineapple.com.
Yeah.
I contacted the guy who owns pineapple.com. I made him a very healthy offer.
Yes.
And he literally told me, if it's not $1 million minimum, like, don't
Come
call me.
on.
And then I emailed him back a week later. I'm like, look, I spoke with my board. They really want the domain. I'm making you a healthy offer. I think it's worthwhile to at least have a conversation. And yeah, he told me to F off in a nice way and said, if it's not a 7-figure offer, don't call me. And we took Go Pineapple, we built a brand around it. Funny story is that he actually emailed me a year ago, and he's like, "Hey, are you still interested in pineapple?"
Now you got to reverse the offer. You'd be like, if it's not below 6 figures, then I'm not even, you can go.
If it's not 5 digits, don't call me.
That's right. Yeah. Well, it should be like you don't need that now. You have to rebrand, rebadge, all that stuff. It's a lot of work.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
We love it. We love Pineapple. It means a lot to us.
So how many years has it been now since you've gone to Pineapple?
So the company itself started 10 years ago, Capital Lending Center / Pineapple. Pineapple was rebranded in 2021. But kind of rewind the clock, really, guys, the business started with a focus around how could we help this industry? You know, at that time, you know, I'd been a broker for about a decade. Kendall, my partner, had been a broker for about 7 years. And we saw a bunch of gaps. So we saw what the industry was doing really well. Love this industry, love this space, love everybody in it. But we saw some gaps. Some of the gaps in training, some of the gaps in support.
Big gaps.
Huge gaps.
Yeah, we can call them big gaps, right? Gaps in technology and resources and tools and systems that agents had access to. And we said to ourselves, look, we don't need to recreate the industry, but we need to fill these gaps. And that was how it all started. Just a real care for, you know, building a stronger industry together.
I got a question for you, Shubha. You obviously have a very strong company culture. I'm a big fan of company culture, right? Sua and I we read a book called Speed of Trust. A mentee, a friend of mine by the name of Stephen Bartlett. You probably know him. He's Diary of a CEO.
Diary of a CEO.
See him every day.
Right.
Listen to him every day almost.
I knew him when he was only at 50,000 subscribers. You know, and very, very struck out. You know, like you stand out very much like him as well. Just curious, you know, a genuine, serious, genuine, you know, care about people. So how did you guys develop your company culture? How did you guys develop that? You know, what struck me was that interview that the designers and the marketing team did for the Pineapple, and they said, you know, unanimously, everyone in your team all said the same thing. So how did you train that? Because I think a lot of CEOs that I work with, they build, you know, everyone's just chasing a number, they're chasing a goal, but they fail to build the company culture. Alex Amosi, another good friend, mentor as well, you know, he talks about the same thing too. You build the culture first, right? You know, so how did you guys land with that? How did you and your partner, you know, land with that culture?
You know, the vision that we had would never have been possible unless everybody believed in it, right? Yeah. Everybody had to believe in wanting to make this space better, wanting to help brokers. And in the early days of our company, there was a simple mantra that we all used to say when we walk in the door, which was that if a mortgage agent or broker entrusts you with something as valuable as putting food on their table, putting clothes on their back, and paying their mortgages, then we have to treat it with the utmost respect. And that's what mortgage brokers do. When they choose a firm that they're going to work with, they're putting their careers and their families and their livelihoods in your hands. And we took that very seriously in the early days. And the culture was just built around all of the early stage people believing that, living that, and investing in that, right? The other way that it came to be is that we identified that it was a pillar of our business. So the pillars of our company were support, training, and culture, all tied together through technology. You know, everybody thinks that we're a technology company, and we build great technology and we support agents through technology, but we're a mortgage company. And the pillars of our mortgage company are support, training, culture, and we use technology to bring all three of them together. And because we used to voice how important culture was, it just became a part of everybody who joined this organization. It was part of our introductory, it was part of our onboarding. We talked a lot about philanthropy, we talked about what makes us, we talked about giving back to community, and today when you look at our business now 10 years later, some of our first agents that joined us are the mentors that are giving back to the newer agents, right?
Nice.
That
I love it. Love it.
Full circle.
I love it. I love whenever I hear somebody say philanthropy is part of their culture, part of their company, DNA, right? And that's what I love about what we've been doing. I mean, we're building in Asia right here, right? But part of the profit that we make, like 10% of the net profit we make, we help the community. Like in Bali, we train the locals there, like free training to be massage therapists, because we have master therapists working with us. So we say when we don't have guests, they can come in and learn. And when they come in and learn, when we have customers, they can practice on the customer. So the customer gets free massage and they get free training. The really cool thing is, Shubha, is that when they finish it, they certify to go international hotels to work.
Love it.
So the girls become the breadwinner of the family instead of the man. It's amazing. It's like it's flipped.
It's amazing what you can do when you give back to the communities that you serve. And we believe, like, we're philanthropy first from a culture perspective, because we're service providers. We serve a community, and we serve an important part of a community, which is home ownership, which is building community, right? Without those homes, without the people that live in those homes, there is no community around them. So if we're going to play such an integral role in building community, we have to support those communities as well. And whether it's through things like last weekend, we had our MLSC Foundation volleyball tournament, raise money to help kids through sport, whether it's through our health focus, Princess Margaret, Canadian Cancer Society, whether it's through organizations like Habitat for Humanity. We always want to make sure that we are present in our communities and that we're not just service providers, but we're integrated right within them.
Shubha, I've got a follow-up question now. I'm going to flip it the other way, right? Usually disruptors or passionate visionaries that I've been blessed to meet along the way, they are usually driven by where they see a gap in the industry. And you talked about that earlier, about you saw the gap. Take us through that 10-year journey. What was the initial huge gap that you and your partner Kendall, you guys were passionate about solving, right? Why? Because we see gaps every day. Everyone, every single one of us, we go to work, we move around, we go our careers, our businesses, our passions. We all are wanting to solve a problem, something in the marketplace, and we want to be compensated, obviously, for it, because we live in a capitalistic society. So you do need money, does make the world go around. And the more you have of it, the more choices you have. Okay, so understanding that premise, you guys saw something, but it's not easy to grow a company, right? It's like actually most people think like, oh, I'm going to one day wake up and, there's that famous book, E-Myth, where Michael Gerber talks about the entrepreneur seizure. They wake up one day and I want to go start a company. They don't realize how hard it is to build a company. And how much sacrifice you have to make when you're sick, when you have COVID, you still get up, you still go to work. So there has to be a drive there. What is that drive for you and Kendall? Like what was that? It was such a thorn in your side where you saw this issue.
What made you get out of bed on a rainy day, cold
winter?
What made
you get out of bed?
Right. Well, and stick with it for 10 years. Yeah, not give up, for 10 years.
I'll tell you a funny one, and I'll answer that question in 2 seconds, Desmond. I'll just tell you a funny story. This is pre-COVID. Definitely wouldn't do this post-COVID because you're not allowed to, and it's frowned upon now. But
disclaimer
here. Pre-COVID, I used to do a lot of the training personally, still do. It's a passion of mine. I had 103 fever at 4 a.m, and I had a training course that morning.
Wow.
So 9 a.m. Our brokers were coming. We were small then. We weren't that big. We had maybe 50, 60 agents at that time. Took 3 Tylenols, came in and did the training. So what gets you out of bed when you have 103 fever? It's the passion, right? But what is it? What were the gaps? So the gaps were easily identifiable for us in the pillars that we built out. So support, training, and culture. So within the support pillar, we had sub pillars, and the sub pillars were the gaps that we saw, right? So the first kind of sub pillar was underwriting. And why was underwriting important to us? Underwriting was important to us because there's a statistic in our industry that 80% of mortgage agents don't make it past their second year. And
That's right.
our industry kind of just takes it at face value and says, okay,
It's attrition.
yeah, but we didn't take that as an okay. Like, what about these 80% of people? Like, why aren't they making it past the next 2 years? So we found that one of the biggest obstacles to them was path to revenue, path to money. Right? If you're not making money, you can't stay in for longer than 2 years. You have bills to pay, families to support, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So how could we accelerate the path for them to get to revenue? Well, build an underwriting team focused around helping them drive revenue while we train them on revenue generating activities. So instead of getting them to learn underwriting first and not make money for 2 years, we said, hey, let us teach you how to get customers, how to bring business in, how to navigate these relationships, and we'll provide you a full service team that once you have this client, they'll take them from beginning to end for you, and you can start making some money. Sure, we made some money off of them too, but we got them to revenue faster. We cut revenue down for a new agent entering this industry from what was estimated to be about 8 months down to 4 months. Today we have
I was gonna say 8 to 9 months. Yeah. Average.
So now our new agent, newly licensed, joining us today, they will close their deal within the first, generally 90 days is kind of our time frame, but 2 months is kind of our goal.
Congratulations. That's a great promise. That's a big statistical improvement. Okay. So that was the initial gap. And
so that was a gap. But
that's just one gap. Yeah.
At that time, there's many more. At that time, I was a top producer. And as a top producer in the industry before we started this business, you guys, I'm sure, are very well aware of it. You're never off. So I'm top producer, young family, and we go on vacation. Kids are in the pool. I'm on my laptop. Sometimes I'm in my room. Sometimes I'm on calls, like wandering around the grounds, right? So
we call those workations,
right? So then we realized, hey, underwriting might help get new agents faster path to revenue, but it'll help experienced agents reallocate time. And it's not up to me to decide where they reallocate time, whether they reallocate time to their families, to taking their kids to hockey, to soccer, or whether they reallocate time back into their businesses because they want to scale and grow. Whatever they want to do is okay with us. But how can we get them that time back? And removing some of that administrative work, removing some of that processing was a way to do it. One of our greatest success stories early in our business, about 2 years into our business, was that randomly, both Kendall and I would get phone calls from our agents, just randomly, unprompted. They would call us and they would say, hey, just want to let you know, we just closed the deal, but we're on a beach in Mexico having a Corona.
That's nice.
And it started happening over and over. And we were like, that's how we know we help fill a
You
gap,
got it.
right?
That was your indicator. Yeah, that was your
You
indicator.
got something. Yeah.
The second gap we looked to fill was how can we drive revenue for agents? And I'm a big believer. Everybody doesn't have to agree with this. I do. I think that most businesses are built off really good marketing. And mortgage brokers have to be really good marketers if they want customers in, if they want to attract
They don't
that
start out at all.
But they don't start out that way, right? Most mortgage brokers come into this business thinking that they need to be good underwriters and they're analytical and all this kind of stuff. The second gap that we looked to fill was that marketing gap. So we built out, full-on segmentation. We ran all of the marketing automations, sent out realtor communication, sent out client communication, sent out, follow-up systems. All of the marketing was managed for these agents to help really accelerate and compound their growth. And then once they had business, as we all know, the hardest part is then finding reoccurring opportunities from your database. So then we started showing them how not just utilizing CRM, but also using data and data analytics. Hey, how can you find a customer opportunity through finding a refinance on a lower interest rate? How can you help somebody build wealth through real estate if they have established enough equity by accessing that equity and purchasing an investment property? So we started running all of these analytics behind the scenes and building it into their marketing systems. So they didn't even have to worry. It was all running for them behind the scenes, and they would get pinged on their dashboards when a customer opportunity was available. So those were some of the first gaps we found. Then the second gap was really around that training pillar. And that started because when I took the broker course, it was 8-month full-time being offered through, Seneca College or University of British Columbia. You learned a lot. We spent 8 months full time with that internship period learning about
at least back in those days with 8 months. Now they're giving 5-6 weeks. It's crazy.
Now it's nothing. Now it's just an online program that you do.
Online couple-week course, right? So I had this detachment between where the industry's kind of educational path went versus where I went. And I discovered this when, I said to Kendall, because he and I met, he was at a different brokerage, I was at a different brokerage. And I said, how come like you and a lot of your agents don't know this stuff? I used to support them, help them do a lot of private deals, help fill some gaps for them because they didn't have support. He and I were friends. And I asked him one day, I said, how come you guys don't know this stuff? Like they teach you this in the course. And he's like, no, they don't. I'm like, what are you talking about? I showed him what I learned in my course. He's like, bro, our course was weekend. Yeah, he's like, we don't learn any of that. So I said, well, if they're not learning that, we have a problem. So we built out, and training to us wasn't just calling it training. We built out a full curriculum. So we built out curriculum on sales. We built out curriculum on underwriting. We built out a curriculum on marketing, curriculum on administrative duties, on compliance, on how to use our tools and techs. So we had all these different training paths, and then we formulated it into proper delivered curriculum courses that people could take. It started off live, then recorded, then moved into, we built the learning management software. So now people can take it online and get badges and certifications. But that was the second problem. How can we solve the problem of education? And not just early in your career, but what happens when you advance and your, career takes on a different nature? You need to work on, nurturing your database, nurturing that book of business, moving into an investor style of business as you graduate and your customers start growing, right? So our training was
basically, definitely.
Yeah, it was designed to grow with the agents' careers as they grew, right? So we'll teach you the fundamentals on day one, and we'll teach you cap rates on, year 5 or whenever that is in your career, right?
Well, that's us, year 5.
Maybe
it's funny. That's the average. That's the average broker that comes to learn commercial financing. Year 5. I don't know what it is. Like 3 to 5 years, but most of them around year 5 when they, because I've had enough or I need to level up. I'm getting bored. I'm not excited anymore.
I'm glad it's not 5 weeks, because then
no, we turn them away. It's like no.
So I was going to
bring
this. Sua touched on something that's really interesting, and Shubha, I'm really curious. I'm on a cliffhanger here right now with everything that you guys have developed. 2 questions I've got for you. One is your, and for all the viewers watching this, obviously, guys, please, Shubha, let's do a shameless plug right now. If anyone's watching this and they're already very interested in the training that you're offering, what's the fastest way for them to connect with you, your team? Like, what is the entryway, other than them Googling you and just going to your website?
A member of our team. Like, you send me a note, I'll definitely get back to you. But Alan Ng is our head of sales here, so he would be the best guy to get in touch with. But yeah, you shoot anybody on this team a message, and you'll definitely hear back from them.
100%.
We can get your contact information and then put it into the description of the YouTube channel,
so
that they can see that.
Yeah, when we want people to hear about this, and we want to give back.
I love it. I love finding a home for a broker that trains them, and not when we first started, right back in decades ago. I still remember, it's like, okay, I got my license, and now what? Go find a realtor. Go to knock some doors. Yeah. What the hell?
Yeah.
Well, everybody's training was kind of, they called lenders and BDMs coming in to give product.
It's training. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, those are sales presentations. You got to have that knowledge, right? But training is something different. We hired educators to build curriculum for us. We hired, technical developers to build out these online courses and online modules, right? So we took very serious.
I gotta see what you guys do and maybe compare notes, because we like 7 weeks and we thought we're overwhelming our people. I want to see what you guys do.
No. You gotta see pineapple juice. I still lead up what we call it PMAC, Pineapple Mortgage Agent Quadrant. So that's a course that I had developed. It's about 50 hours. So we do it over a full week, but that's a fun one too.
Good,
So I still got the two questions. The first question is, are you only Canada wide, or do you service North America? Do you are there any boundaries, or anyone even internationally could be interested in this? Could it be used universally? Who's your target audience right now?
Today, Canada wide. So today we're represented in every province in Canada. We just feel that there's a lot of wood for us to chop here. There's so much mortgages. There's such a cyclical nature to mortgages with our 1 to 5 year terms. There's such a immediate need for a level of servicing of customers and opportunities that are out there, that we just want to make sure that we focus here right at home before we begin to expand beyond that.
That's very smart.
You can't clean up, the world until you clean up your own backyard.
Right? Yeah.
Ooh, there you go.
Very, very smart. A lot of visionaries, they again, the mistake is to try to scale and over expand, when you got to say no more than you say yes. And that leads me to my second question, which is then, if you're focusing on the Canadians right now, which is very passionate, very similar to my other business partner, Josh, that runs the fractional CFO of CPA services as well. Are you helping them right now? What's the evolution? So I'm a level 2 mortgage broker. I've been doing mortgages for residential for the last 15 years. And naturally, that we're biased because I'm leading into this because we specialize in the commercial side. Are you seeing a gap in the commercial side? What can we do to support, your brokers or your students, your members? What is that gap right now? Are they looking? Is it even on their radar? Do they see that as the next progression? Do you and Kendall see it as the next progression, or at least as a additional bolt-on into their tool belt, right? So that way, or is it more specialization just in one area?
One thing we talk a lot about here, and by design, it was a gap that we saw in our industry when we started, was succession planning. Brokers and agents just had no succession plan, right? You start your career, you start selling, maybe you do well, you sell a lot. If you sell a lot, then maybe you start a brokerage or a team, and then you retire, right? There's really just no path that you.
Yeah, you either die or retire. Well, those are only two options.
You hope someone takes over your book of business, and you hope you can.
Yeah. So what we wanted to do was build a defined path that people could follow. And look, not every agent is going to end as an agent successfully. A lot of our underwriters were started as agents, and they realized that they didn't like the sales front. But we're really good at analytics and underwriting business. So, okay, here's a succession plan for you. Here's a path that you can follow. Some of our people were great marketers, and they became a lot of our content writers and a lot of the people that work on our team, right? So there was so many ways that people can kind of go on this path. But for those that stay in the path of mortgages and sales, you generally will start as a new mortgage agent. You'll develop your business. You'll then move into, a more advanced type of career, servicing maybe more advanced type of solutions like investors, multiple property portfolios. And that's really where I've discovered that the passion for commercial kind of really starts to stem, is once an agent starts working on the investment side of the business residentially, then they start asking them questions about, well, what about other investment opportunities, right? What about other asset classes that people could get into and purchase? So that's kind of when that horizon really kind of hits. And as Sua mentioned, it's in and around 5 years, I notice, is kind of that right time. That first mortgage cycle has to go through, right? That first 5 year cycle. And then customers start coming to them talking about investment opportunities, or I want to buy a business and things of that nature.
Correct.
But the equity is built up. Equity is built up. But they're tired of their salary job now.
Absolutely, right? But there's so many paths that people can follow from a succession standpoint, right? Whether that be team leaders, whether that be broker owners. So we wanted to build an organization where if you wanted to continue to evolve and grow your career, you could do it here. right?
Yeah.
So you could be a team
Love it.
leader
Nice.
here. You could be a broker owner here. We have 34 independent brokerages under the Pineapple umbrella. You can look for other career opportunities if you want corporate or head office type roles, right? So just really giving and building and nurturing an environment that allows people to branch off and find what's meaningful to them at that stage in their life.
Okay. Well, what's the next evolution then for Pineapple right now? As you know, and I'm literally mimicking what Stephen Bartlett sometimes says in his
What's
in
the
his
next
interview.
step? That's
Yeah,
right.
what's the next step? What's the next iteration? You know, what are you working on with the team right now? What is the next big audacious goal that you guys want to get to?
Yeah, I mean, and our industry, I think it's pretty well known. Our industry right now is in the crosshairs of a couple of things, you know, AI being one of them and decentralized finance being another, right? And both of them are going to intersect at some point with the mortgage industry, and both of them kind of on our radar, right? So from, you know, an AI standpoint, we've already been rolling out and integrating many different AI models and applications into our software, helping build efficiencies. You know, we have AI-powered doc analysis right now, AI-powered lender selection tools, and deal analysis, all containered and secure within our environment. So, you know, that's something that I'm very scared of, to be honest.
Yes.
Just as a quick note, guys, I hear too many stories right now of mortgage brokers uploading like client docs,
no.
GPT,
No.
and, you know, asking, hey, can you
no.
help me? Like, I'm shocked that our industry hasn't, you know, cracked the whip on this to say, what are you guys doing, right? So, you know,
compliance and guardrails.
That's like giving a stranger full access to your client's private
I'm just
information.
shocked and scared. So, you know, we've made sure that we properly containered, properly securitized all of that information. And we're also looking at the decentralized finance front. So, you know, what does tokenized mortgage solutions and tokenized finance look like in the future? How will those worlds meet? So, you know, we've built out one of the largest altcoin treasuries in our business right now. We hold about $50 million of altcoin and stablecoin assets. We're working with a finance first blockchain provider, the Injective Foundation, based out of New York, on, you know, building potential mortgage securitized token solutions. So, you know, we're really looking at, you know, where those two worlds meet and the roles that we'll play in it.
Yeah. How do you? And this is I'm going to give you the curveball here, right? How do you feel about Michael Saylor and the work that he's been doing with Bitcoin, with strategy, with, you know, a lot of all the different products that he's got as well in that area? Since we're talking about the tokenization, and you know, now with, you know, we're coming up on the Clarity Act and things that we're moving in that direction, right? So.
I think like with all kind of early stage industries, let's call it, and I know that, you know, the world of blockchain isn't early, but it is. It's still very much in its infancy because there's no regulation really around it yet, formally. But I think in all of those phases, you see incredible successes and incredible failures. And I think often people put this negative connotation around the word failures, but the failures are what set up the successes in these early stages of development, right? Elon talks about it all the time. You know, people say, oh, your rockets crashed. But he's like, how else would I have learned?
Yeah,
like,
fail forward, right?
He's like, I got to stretch the rubber band to know when it's going to break and crash, so that when I send people,
how do you know that copper doesn't work? How do you know that, you know?
Yeah. So to answer your question, Desmond, I think I love seeing anybody that's willing to push boundaries and anybody that's willing to take chances. And whether you succeed or whether you fail isn't what I care about. It's whether you're willing to try, because somebody trying something gives the rest of us an idea and a learning and a takeaway that we can implement and use.
Yeah, takeaway from me: do not build a resort project in Bali during COVID. Just so you know.
You definitely stretched the rubber band on that one.
But everybody's in Bali now.
Yeah, now everybody's building it. They're having a much easier time than I had.
Yeah,
that's right. On his back after he pioneered everything, right? So
hey, somebody's got to put their back first, right?
I got my back straight.
Well, so guys, if you're if you've enjoyed this this interview so far, there's lots more, right? We want to get Shubha back on. Let us know in the comments below. What sort of comments, what questions, what did you learn? The most important thing is, just paying attention. I would highly encourage you to rewatch this interview over again, because Shubha shared a lot of insights. He's in the 1% of the 1% out there that actually you can see the way he thinks, the way he solves problems. And one thing that I've learned from the years I've been blessed to be around, fractional billionaires and visionaries, is that you want to be around their proximity. So get around Shubha, get around his team if you can, in any way, shape, or form. Connect with him. You can drop Sua's name. You can drop my name. You just say, hey, you know what? We saw your interview, and connect with. Even if you can't connect directly with Shubha, connect with his team. Ask questions.
As well. We're all good people in the industry. So
give value. Okay. My advice for anyone that's watching this is, you can see that Shubha leads with value. Take from that. And if you're going to contact his team, don't come in asking for something. Come in offering something first, and then naturally you can tell that by their culture that they're going to support you and help you out, right? So that's my advice for the viewers here. Shubha, there's another great book that I have around here, which is another great mentor of mine, good friend, is Joe Polish. He says, "What's it in for them?" Right? We covered a lot of that here, so I want to just throw that to you. What can we do for you? What can we do for you and your brokers? Name it. What can Sua, myself, as co-founders and CFM do for your team at Pineapple to help further your mission and your vision to help you impact more?
Well, I think there's definitely two things. Number one is keep doing what you guys are doing, because the focus and the passion and the commitment that you have to improving our space. And let's be frank, residential and commercial lending are two completely different vehicles. If you do one, it doesn't mean you can do the other. Albeit that people don't understand that. They just hear the word mortgage and assume it's the same thing, right?
No, it's not.
You guys are helping bridge that and helping, people see that maybe this isn't for me, because that's also okay, right? It's okay to go and learn something and then say to yourself, that's not for me. I like doing, condos with 10% down, easy, slam dunk deals. So that's the first thing. Keep doing what you guys are doing, because I think that you guys are improving the industry every single day. And the second is that as we, as an organization, are continuing to grow and evolve, we always have that conversation with our agents. We always have the conversation about, hey, how do we get better with commercial? How do we learn commercial? Like I said, I always send them your way. I always refer them your way, because the best place to get better at something is just to learn, right? And if you're going to learn, you got to learn from the people who are teaching and the people who are teaching it the best. So continue to do what you're doing, and please keep your eyes open for the people that we're sending your way, because we're always sending
likewise, Shubha. And the reason why I asked you to come on, because out of the 300 odd graduates, they're always moving around, and they say, so the place I'm at, they don't train anything. The matter of fact, they told me not to go take your training. So I was like, well, that's not a very good supportive environment to be around. And they always ask me, so who do you recommend? I said, well, I'm going to start interviewing a lot of these owners and a lot of the CEOs and the founders, so they get to understand what the culture is like, to understand what it's going to be like if I send somebody your way. You know what I mean? So, and I feel that Pineapple is probably one of the nicer one around to hear the name drop, right? So
can I just end with one note on that? So, our industry is synonymous with movement, right? It's the nature of it. People move from one organization to another in search of better, in search of bigger, in search of other opportunity, and in search of whether the grass is greener on the other side.
Yes.
The truth of the matter is, and everybody's heard the analogy, the grass is greener where you water it, but really what I want to say is, if anybody calls me, I won't immediately just be like, hey, come. The first question I'm going to ask you is, why do you really want to leave? Yes. Right? Because I think something that people don't take enough time to consider is, what role are they playing in the problem too? I don't want somebody to come here and say, well, hey, I'm not getting everything I asked for, because they're not playing the role in their own success, right? So sometimes we've got to take a look at the mirror and ask ourselves the question of, what role am I playing in my challenges? And it could very well be environment, because we're all a product of our own environment. And I believe that heavily. So it could be that you need a change of scenery, but don't be too rash with that decision, right? Take some time and make the right decision, because it is your livelihood, it is your mortgage payments, the food on your table, and your clothes on your back.
Wow, wonderful, guys.
See why I invited Shubha? See, this is a truly caring person, just like we do. We actually care about our mentees, and we say, you do your homework. Don't waste your money. It's like you pay me. It's not to make me feel good. I need you to be competent, right, and confident.
But
I love that. I love that. So
well, turning them away, and we have a culture of the GWC, the gets it, wants it, and has the capacity to do it, right? And so, do you get it? Do you want it? Like, what's going to make you want to get out of bed? Do you want it? For the lenders, for the borrowers, and for yourself, right? Do you get it? Do you want it? And finally, do you have the capacity? And capacity encompasses a lot of things. When many people think capacity usually relates to resources like time or money, which it is, right? Those are the two big pillars. But there's other capacities like EQ capacity, and whether or not people have the resources for it, right? They have the.
Are they a people person? Or are they very analytical? So it's like, you can't have a capacity for one and not the other. And you want to learn commercial. It needs both. So
absolutely.
Very awesome. Love it.
All right, guys.
We look forward to having you, bring you back again next time, Shubha, and maybe get Kendall, bring Kendall along. Then they have a nice 2-on-2 instead of 2-on-1. I feel like you're getting ganged on.
Well, thank you guys so much. Yeah, thank you for having us. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to coming out to Asia and seeing some resorts.
That's right. We'll have some good pineapple out there.
Oh, you definitely will. I'm in Vietnam too, so we got lots of pineapple here too. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna stop recording.